Hey there, class. It's Faisal coming at you with your class of the day for June 1st, English Grade 12, College. So, uh, first of all, thanks to those of you who have been sending me theses and outlines and such over the weekend. I hope you guys are finding the essay to be not too challenging. You should know that the essay is due this Friday, right, which is the 5th or 6th, and it is going to be handed in through the website just like the paragraphs and the questions were. So, today I'm going to talk about citation, right? Last time I talked about how to quote and everything like that, but we need to talk a bit about citation since, well, I'm expecting you to cite your work in this particular essay. So, this essay is going to be written in MLA format. That stands for Modern Languages Association. It's the standard format for English work that you get in any English class you take. Citation is slightly different depending on which kinds of courses you're taking, right? Science papers tend to have a different style of citation as opposed to social science courses, right? So it does vary, but it is about the same when it comes to the basics. So before I talk about the mechanics, let me tell you what citation is. The idea of citation is when you put something in your paper, right, I should be able to go and find whatever it is you said, right? So let's go to my example. Last Friday, I had my example, right? For example, in the Adventure of the Six Napoleons, Watson says of the culprit that a man who had read deeply about Napoleon might conceivably be capable of any fantastic outrage, right? So, the point of me putting this after, right, Doyle Six Napoleons, is that if I want to, right, I need to be able to go and find that quotation for myself, right? I need to be able to find that so that I can find where you're getting your information from, right? That's sort of a really important part of academia. So if I were to write, 34% of marriages are end in failure or something like that, then my reader needs to be able to find, okay, where did this person get this information from? Can I look up where their information is from, right? Because that's sort of like 70% of academia is being able to show where you're getting your info from, right? You can't just say, it's like this and not prove it, right? You have to have evidence, right? And if I, just tell you, well, 78% of people say that Sherlock Holmes is the best, right? Uh, well, how do people know I'm not making that up? Well, I should have a citation for it, and I should, have it so that you can go and look up whatever it is I'm saying, right? So that's point one of citation, but point two is also for plagiarism, right? Because what you're going to find in academia is if you take someone else's ideas, right, and you don't give them credit, right, academics live on credit, so you have to cite them, right? So again, let me just summarize here, right? So why do we cite? Those two reasons, right? So number one, so that our readers can look up what we were saying, right? That's reason number one. And reason number two is to give credit to the people that we use as sources, right? So if I look something up and I find a great idea, right? And, I read an article and it's full of good stuff, and I just take it and write it again, then I'm stealing from that person, right? So we use citation to give credit where credit is due. Now, how do we do it? Well, let's take a look here. Let me just put this on another page. So, we need to do two things in order to cite properly. All right? Step one is what we call in InText Citation. So I've got two examples here. For example, in The Adventure of the Six Napoleons, Watson says of the culprit that a man who had read deeply about Napoleon might conceivably be capable of any fantastic outrage. And then you'll notice I have Doyle, Six Napoleons. Doyle is the author's name, and then Six Napoleons is the title of the story. Now, the reason... Well, hang on. Let me fully explain here. The other quotation example I have here is this from The Flying Machine. The Emperor tells the inventor that he has made birds sing, I have made forests murmur, I have set people to walking in this woodland, enjoying the leaves and shadows and songs. And then in brackets, I have Bradbury. So, let me explain how this works. So, this website, which I'm going to give a link to along with the video, sort of lays it out, right? This is Purdue University's, right, online writing lab, or OWL, right? It sort of gives you all of the rules of in-text citation, right? So there's in-text citation for when you have one author, when it's a print author, when there's no author or corporate author, right? So that is what I will link you to just so you can get the nitty-gritty. But the basics of it are, when you cite, you put the author's name in brackets, right? So that's the first thing you do, right? Just like I did here with, let me put Bradbury up top. With Bradbury, I put the author's name in brackets. Now, if this were a book, right, then you would need to cite, the page number, right? Oh, this is a Quran. Then you'd need to cite the page number. So, you would say, page 115 or whatever it is. But all of your stories that I've given you are online, so there's no need for the page number, right? So if it were a book, you would put a page number. Since it's an online source, you don't need that, right? So you just need the author's name. Now, what you do need, though, for the Sherlock Holmes stories, because there are two of them that you might be writing about, is you need to just put the title of the book along with it. Note, this is only if you have, as says here, where is it? Setting work by the same, multiple works by the same author, right? So if you have multiple works by the same author, right, then you just put it in quotation marks afterwards, right? So if I were only talking about the Six Napoleons in my essay, then I wouldn't need to do that. But since I'm talking about more than one, I don't need to I need to put them in quotation marks after, right? Don't put the full title, by the way, just keep it short, right? Six Napoleons is what I do there. If I did the three students, it would just be three students, right? So you're supposed to keep it short. MLA wants everything to be nice and short. They don't want huge citations. So that's what you've got to do every time you quote or take information in your essay, right? So you've got to do first an in-text citation. All right, you guys with me so far? Let me know if you have questions about that. So after your essay is finished and you've got citations all throughout the entire essay, right? You got to do works cited at the end, right? So this is after your concluding sentence, after everything is done. You'll have another page that's going to look like this. It'll have the word works cited at the beginning, right? And I'll talk more about fonts and everything tomorrow, or actually the day after. But the works cited page is the page where you give the information about where you're supposed to find whatever it is that you were quoting or sourcing, right? So if I'm reading your essay and see this quote, right, okay, there's the quote, made birds sing, blah, 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 right, and I see Bradbury, then what I should be able to do, right, as the reader of your essay, is I should be able to go to your last page and see right there, okay, Bradbury Ray, The Flying Machine, Doubleday, New York, 1953, print, right? And then you would have to go from there and get it, right? Or I could go from there and get it, right? So the whole point is I should be able to find the things that you cite if I want to, right? So that is what is going on in Works Cited. But how do you do it? Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, the general way you do it, I'm going to give you guys a website again for this, right? It's the same Purdue University Online Writing Lab, or OWL, right? OWL, by the way, if you're ever confused about things, right, what do you put into Google? Go here to Purdue Online Writing Lab. They are the most detailed guide to how to do this stuff, right? So you just have to see, okay, how do I do, electronic sources or periodicals, or how do I do a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, right? So the OWL is really good for that, right? So if there's anything you do after this video, please bookmark OWL, right? OWL is useful. Anyway, the way it's supposed to go is author, title of container, do not list container books, first download books, example novels, other contributors, translators or editors, version, edition, number, volume and or number, publisher, publication date, location, pages, paragraphs, URL or DOI, second container's title, other contributors, version, number, publisher, publication date, location, date of access if applicable. So, that's a lot, isn't it? Right? It's a lot of stuff that you have to do. And I'm going to be real with you guys, right? This is not dishonest or anything like that when I say that the best way to make your citations is to just use one of many online tools that will do it for you, right? You can even see it has it right there on the MLA or on the OWL website, right? Where, I can just put in, where is it? Oh, here it is. The Maiden Wiser Than the Tsar, right? I can just put it in, click there, right? And it will do it for me, right? So, oh, couldn't find it. Found it earlier. Backend service unavailable. Okay, sometimes it screws up, right? Which is maybe a problem. But, it worked just 10 minutes ago. It usually works. So, that is the, way to do it, right, is use these websites. I like to use one called EasyBib, right? EasyBib.com is what I use myself, right, in order to make my things. You just go here, you press create citation, right, you hit website, and then you copy in the website. But not EasyBib, Maiden Wiser. There we go. Where'd it go? There, here it is. Search, and then it'll do it all for you, right? You'll hit cite, and the important thing that you have to do is if it's missing information, for instance here it's missing the author's name, then you want to put that in, right? Or if it's missing the publication date, right, you'll want to find out what the publication date is and put that in. Now, I was thinking as I was about to make this video, hang on a second, they've been getting all of the stories from me, right? And they don't know the publication information because it's all just been coming from me. So what I have done for you guys is I have put the publication information for all 4 of the short stories right here in this document, right? You see, I've got Bradbury, Doyle, and Idris Shah, right, for The Maiden Wiser Than the Tsar. So I've got everything all set for you guys for the 4 sources that you might be quoting in this thing, right? So if you are quoting from any of those sources, then in your works cited paper, right, you should have, whichever one you quoted, right? So if you're going to quote The Flying Machine in your essay, then, it should be in your works cited. Or if you're quoting the 6 Napoleons, right, then that should be at the works cited section. Only cite things that you're going to use, right? So don't think you have to cite everything. So, there's no excuse. This should be at the end of your paper, right? The works cited section. By the way, this is not included in any word counts or anything. Not that I'm making you do a word count. Anyhow, So that's what it looks like for your works cited section, right? So again, in the essay itself, you have these bracketed Bradbury, Doyle, Six Napoleons, all that stuff. And then at the end, you have works cited. But there's one other thing. Let's say you pick number 1 for your essay topic, right? And you're going to say for your thesis, technology is great. We should embrace all of the technology that we can, and the emperor is a fool, right? You want to say that, and in order to prove that, you're thinking, you know what? I will. Let me just put this SpaceX launch. I'm going to talk about how wonderful technology is because, there was this good SpaceX launch that came just, yesterday, and it's such a wonderful thing. So let's see here. Let's do space.com. So let's say you get some quotes here from Elon Musk about how he's overcome with emotion because they launched a rocket ship, and he's so happy about that. So that's fine. Do that. In fact, that's a good way. Oh, don't play that. To write your essay. It's actually nice. I think that would be a good essay. But when you do that, you will have to cite the article you are citing. So in this case, right, if I'm citing this whole thing about Elon Musk here, I'll do it now. Put it on a new page. Technology is a wonderful thing. Just yesterday, or I should say just Saturday, SpaceX launched a rocket ship that propelled humans into space in less than 10 minutes. Elon Musk then said, and then I'm quoting Elon Musk, right? I'm going to quote this crazy person. I'm really quite overcome with emotion. All right. That's maybe a stupid quote, but whatever. I'm really quite overcome with emotion, right? So if I'm using that quote, then guess what? I've got to cite this person whose name is Wietering, right? So I'm going to put in brackets over here, Wietering, right? And once I finish my essay, I've got to give a works cited entry for this. So I'm going to have to take this and put it into Easy Bib, right? Right, I'm going to create citation, website, right? Search. There you go, right? And then I'm going to cite, and it'll do everything for me, right? Complete citation, right? And there it is, right? So now I have the citation, and I'm just going to have to plug it in, but I do have to do that. So, credit. Wait, where'd it go? There it is. Copy bibliography citation. Boom. Right? So I do have to do that, and I shouldn't forget to do that, certainly. But you guys have to make sure to do that too, right? So if you give me any kind of outside source or anything like that, you're going to have to, cite it, okay? And that's a good habit to get into. If you don't cite it, right, then you're in the plagiarism zone, right? And the plagiarism zone is not a zone you want to be in. All right, so that's citation in a nutshell. I know this can be a little confusing, and this is the part of the class where I usually walk around and say, hey, do you get it? Show me your citations and everything like that. So if you have questions about how this works, or if you're confused, please just ask the questions. If you want to show me what you're doing in your essays and say, hey, am I citing correctly here? Please do show me it, right? Because I am expecting you guys to get this stuff right. So I will post the examples here so that you can see what I'm doing. Again, you have the advantage if you're quoting the stories, right? You don't have to look anything up. I did it for you right here, so you can just copy those. But if you bring any other sources in, you'll have to, cite them yourself. All right, guys, so that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time.